Welcome, everyone, to this very special Wednesday where we're going to talk about charging and offering animal Reiki sessions, whether it's in person or via distant. And before we get started, I want to talk a little bit about something that really ties into this. So, a couple of weeks ago, we talked about the mindset of charging and how you really have to work on your mindset of receiving and remembering that the more you make, the more animals and people you're going to be able to support. And this is like a lot of the entrepreneurs that I follow, like Marie Forleo, and I've also taken Marie Forleo's B School and studied with Denise Duffield Thomas and Amy Porterfield. They all say the same thing, that you can't give from an empty cup, that you have to be able to receive, and it's okay to get for your gifts, right? Like I always equate it to, if I go to a psychic, or like Taya Strom is an animal communicator and a medium and a psychic, and I've had quite a few sessions with Taya. Never have I thought to myself, wow, she should do this for free. She should be giving this away for free because this is just her natural talent. And she she was born with this gift. I mean, we all have it, but she was born knowing immediately she had this gift. But we have to remind ourselves that it's okay for us to charge. And we're going to get into that in a minute. But I want to go back over to the mindset for a minute. So the other day I was watching, I think it was Esther Hicks, and she was talking about regurgitating the same old story. And what she meant by that was, so for me, I'll give me as an example. My partner and I, we actually haven't been together for a couple years, but we've been together like as far as we own a property together. And he left not unexpectedly, but not very graciously on December 27th. And he left me with a mess. And we've had a lot of contention since he's left. And it's really affected how we've been able to manage this property that we have together. And so I was listening to Esther Hicks, and she said, don't regurgitate the same story. So my story with him was, he's being an asshole. He's screwing me over. He's not paying for what he should be paying for. I'm having to do so much to pick up all the pieces that he just left. Like my friend said, yeah, he just left and then left all his responsibilities too. And it's so true. He just left. So I decided that I needed to change my mindset and change my story, right? I kept regurgitating the story. So yesterday I was unpacking more stuff because I just moved, and I was so pissed at him. And I was just like, oh my God, he's such an asshole. He did blah, blah, blah. And I said, Leah, stop regurgitating that story. The story is that he's a really good person. He's stepping up. He's doing all the things. He's paying for everything. I'm not having to pay for anything anymore. Everything is going great. And I'm so grateful to Michael for being this way, right? So yesterday, that was in the morning. And then in the afternoon, he calls me and he said, hey, I want you to know there's this much amount in our joint, because we have a joint account for the property. I just put this much in there. You can take care of everything with that. If you need more, I'll deposit more. I feel really bad. I've left you inside. He was just saying all the things. And I'm like, wait a second. This was a man that 2 weeks ago I had to block from my phone because he was being so aggressive. And now he's like, I feel so bad. Da, da. And it really was the power of changing my story. And right now, where we are, I don't know anything about this. I'm not a psychic, but it feels like the veil to manifesting what's for our highest good is really easy. And I couldn't believe that yesterday morning, I'm like, don't regurgitate the story. And then he called and said all the right things. Now, who knows? But I'm just sharing this with you because there are so many times when we're going out to do a session, right? Or we're doing something doesn't, I just don't trust myself. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. I don't know if I'm going to be able, like if I offer animal Reiki, what if the animal doesn't, accept? What if they don't react? You've got all these things going on, right? You're regurgitating this story. I'm not good enough. What I'm offering isn't good enough. I need to do extra in order to make it worth it for these people, right? So first off, before you even start offering sessions to anybody, you have to ask yourself, am I ready? Am I ready? Am I okay if the animal doesn't respond? Am I okay if the person, after we're done, and I know that the animal has received and has accepted and has shown some changes, says, oh, I didn't notice anything. Am I okay? Yes, thank you, Kelly. It was a very beautiful confirmation. Am I okay with what's going to happen? And if you can honestly say to yourself, no, I'm not going to be okay with that, then you really have to work on ways to make yourself okay with it. Because animals are like people. If I go over to Karen's house, she doesn't know I'm coming. And I say, hey, Karen, I'm going to give you a massage. Lay down. And Karen's like, wait, I'm not ready. What? And it was, no, it's for your highest good. Come on. You're going to love it. You're going to love it. You're going to love it. And Karen's like, wait a second. I have agency. I don't want this. Well, animals are the same. They have agency. And we're like, oh my God, yeah, we let animals lead. And then we get there, we're like, oh my God, the animal's not responding. You've got to respond. You've got to respond. Oh my gosh. Okay, please respond. Please respond. Right. And in the meantime, we're like, yeah, we let animals lead. And we, and it's like, no, we don't. And when it really comes down to it, when we're doing that, we're not letting them lead. Because they could say to us, yeah, I don't want this today. And we have to go, okay, you don't want that today. Now, I know that Taya, and I'm so excited, you guys, Taya is going to be here on the 12th of March because I have to take off the last Wednesday of February and the first Wednesday because I'm going to be traveling to care. But Taya is coming on the 12th, and Taya is going to talk all about boundaries and how it's safe for you to have boundaries. And Taya, there's a recording of Taya that she did for the SARA group in 2018 or so. And it's a really great recording. And it was a really great call because, women have a hard time receiving, especially all of us. We're here because we're givers, because we love to give. We love to offer support. We don't feel like it's taking from us at all when we offer support, but we have to have boundaries. And when you're going to do your distance sessions, you have to have boundaries. You have to say, okay, like, let's say the animal is really into it and it's a half an hour or however long you decide you're going to be there offering, and they're really into it. And you're like, oh my gosh, do I stop? Do I keep going? Oh, it's not that big of a deal if I keep going. If you have a boundary, you have to respect your boundary. You have to go, no, I'm going to do 30 minutes. And you tell the animal, hey, great. Thank you so much. And you can always let the animal know, hey, you can keep in this space. Just because you're physically leaving doesn't mean the space has to end. The animal, it's like a bell that rings when we offer with these sessions. It just goes out, right? The animal can lay there. So don't feel like you can't, or worse yet, let's say after the session, the person wants to talk and talk and talk and talk and talk, and you've set a clear boundary. It's an hour session. You arrive, you'll talk for 15 minutes, you'll do a 30-minute session, and then you'll speak for 15 minutes. You have to respect your boundaries. You have to say, okay, that's what I've set up for myself. That is what I'm going to respect. And you can always say, hey, I would love to keep speaking to you about this, but I have to leave. So we can readdress this later. You can always offer at like a really low discount. Hey, I do some follow-up sessions, or you can even include that in your session. But I kind of got off with Taya, and I want to start from kind of the beginning. So for those of you who just joined, thank you so much. And I saw that Carol is here, and I haven't seen Carol in forever. So it's really nice to see you, Carol. But I just want to start by saying that when we're going to do a distance session, in-person session, whether you're volunteering or you're going to charge, you have to get your mindset straight. Are you okay offering this for free? Like, let's say you're going to the shelter and you're constantly doing sessions and you're seeing big results and you're feeling like, oh, I should be getting charged for this. You have to get in your own mind what you're willing to do. Or worse yet, you're like going to the shelter. I'm just going to keep volunteering. I would really like to do this and have people pay me, but I'm not comfortable with accepting payment. And that was me for a very long time. I'm going to be totally transparent. It was very hard for me to accept money, and it showed in the sessions. So I would go and it would go great, but then the person was always really weird about paying or about continuing. And it was because I had that energy of a lack of confidence of what I was offering, what I was charging, and why I was charging it. So I think that before you even do anything, even if you're going to volunteer, get it straight in your mind what you're comfortable receiving and giving. And always just really go back to that mindset, because your mindset might be, it's hard for me to receive. It's, or I'm not worthy, or, I'm just not experienced enough, or whatever that is. I've had people who have been doing Animal Reiki for years and years and years, and they're like, yeah, I just don't feel comfortable charging. And you're like, well, you have so much experience, but it's a lack of confidence in their ability. It's the fear that the animal might not accept you when you're there, right? Or if you're offering it distantly, that maybe the animal won't react or the person won't see something, right? So we have to really work on our mindset so that we let go and we know whatever is supposed to happen will. And you deserve to get paid. If you want to be paid, you deserve it. And then Karen says, I'm more afraid of the person's reaction. Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about that. So one of the ways that you can create confidence for yourself is really have it down before you even start. These are my policies, right? So for Taya, I know that, she told me when she was coming to my house to do an animal communication session, if your animals don't want to talk, we'll have to reschedule. And I can't remember, we'll have to ask her what she charges, if she charges anything for that, or if it's just kind of like a service that she offers when she goes. So you have to get in your mind what is going to happen. Like if the animal is just too crazy or just really doesn't want anything to do with you, what is your policy? What are you going to do? You have to have these things already in your mind so that you feel confident, right? Okay, I'm going to go. The animal isn't, and you give the animal about 15 minutes and it's like, no, they don't want me here. We're going to have to reschedule. Also, what is your policy about if things start late? Like, let's say the person's not there, or the person is talking and talking and talking, and the session starts late, and you're like, okay, I'm here from 12 to 1, and she's going into your session. You can say, hey, you have to be able to stop this person. And sometimes that's really hard. So be really secure and confident in yourself before you go. And no, it's okay for you to stop the person. And it's so hard to do. And I have to be transparent again about this. That was really one of my worst qualities, is that I didn't know how to stop people from talking. And I'm a talker. So it's like, oh. So then you're there for 2 hours and you're like, oh my God, I only wanted to be here for an hour. You've already gone over your boundary. And that was me. But I've learned that, as soon as there's a pause, just go, you know what, I would love to continue this, but we really have to get started with the session because I'm on a hard stop at 1 or 1:15 or whatever that is. I mean, you can give them a 5-minute buffer or whatever that is. But again, I can't sit there and say, hey, this is exactly how this has to look, because one size does not fit all. You have to ask yourself, what do I feel comfortable with? What am I going to be okay with if this happens? And go through all the scenarios. If they're late, if they keep talking, or if they want to talk your ear off afterwards. Also, be really clear in your services. So I just got an email from a woman, and she's offering Animal Reiki and animal communication combined. We do not recommend that. In fact, Animal Reiki is passive. Animal communication is active. They do not go together. You can't have them both. So she was doing, I think she did like 3 hours with a cat. And she, of course, she's over providing, right? But she's also unclear on what she's doing. She's unclear, is this animal Reiki or is this animal communication? You can't have both. What you can do is say, I offer both. And if you would like, we can do animal Reiki before or after. I always like animal Reiki before because animal Reiki can create trust because you're just sitting there, you're not asking anything of them, you're just meditating, and they feel your beautiful energy, they see your light, and they go, oh, okay, I can trust this person. And then you can go into your animal communication session. And so Colette says, I have the reverse happening right now as I work on the dogs we are helping to rehome that are finding me through a foster person. After they see the difference in the animals, they call me back and want to pay me. It creates a big guilt loop between them and myself. I usually say, just refer clients. Since my initial offering was voluntary, I would do this just help the dog. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let's talk about that in a sec, Colette, because that's really important. So going back to this woman and the two modalities, you aren't doing either one correctly if you're trying to mix both. So for her, and also again, if the cat didn't want to talk to her and it was taking 3 hours, this is where it's so important to let the animals lead, right? Like after a half an hour, if you're not getting anything, I think it's safe to say, okay, the animal doesn't want to connect. We have to let them lead. We have to tell the person, I'm really sorry. The cat doesn't want to connect right now. We're going to have to reschedule. It's better for you and it's better for the cat and it's better for the person. Because think about if you're with someone, and I'll go back to Karen. I'm at Karen's house and I keep bugging her and bugging her and bugging her and bugging her, trying to get her to do this massage. And after a while, Karen's going to get irritated with me. And Karen's not going to trust me if I come back again. She's not going to trust that I'm going to respect her boundaries and her agency. So remember that when you're trying so hard, even though you're offering something really wonderful, you're also pushing. You're pushing, and that's not going to be beneficial for you. You're going to get frustrated. It's not beneficial for the animal at all. That's starting to erode your trust. And it's not beneficial for the person because they don't really know what to expect. If you're telling them it should only take a half an hour and 3 hours later, you're still trying to do this, they're going to wonder what's happening. And I don't know if this woman, if the other person this woman was working with knew that she had spent 3.5 hours or not, but it's something that you really have to be able to tell yourself, okay, I have to stop. This isn't working. I'm not feeling it. And again, this all comes with practice. The more you practice sharing animal Reiki or sharing animal communication or whatever modality it is, the more you practice, the more you're going to be able to understand when an animal is clearly saying no. Now with animal Reiki, I've never really had that. And one thing, I mean, this works so phenomenally well. One thing you can do before you even connect with an animal via distantly, or if you're going in person, especially if you're going in person, one of the things that you can do is you can connect with the animal the night before. And by that, I mean this. I'm not an animal communicator. I do not try to communicate with animals. What I do is I bring to mind the animal. Sometimes I don't have a picture, so I bring to mind the person and the animal is connected to them. And I tell them, I'm coming tomorrow. This is what's going to happen. This is what I'm going to do. And I don't know if they are hearing me or not when I'm sharing it, but I'm just telling them, right? I'm creating a space and I'm letting them know. And then when I connect with the animal the next day, or if it's distant or in person, they're usually very open. In fact, I've had people say, oh my God, my dog never reacts like this, or my cat never comes out, or anything. I remember, this has happened at Keepers of the Wild, but it also happened at a wild animal sanctuary here outside of Salem, Oregon. And the woman, I had connected with the animals, just like connected with everyone the night before, saying, I'm coming, and I just envisioned the property and all of the residents at this beautiful, I think it's, God, I can't even remember, the name's escaping me. It's a wildcat sanctuary. And I just said, I'm coming. And I brought Taya with me, and I brought another woman, Jody. And I said, we're coming and we're going to be sharing Reiki, and we would love for you to be open, but it's totally fine if you're not. And when they were when the woman was doing the tour with us, all of these cats who were hiding came out, and she's like, this is so weird. They never come out. This is like, she just kept commenting, these cats always hide from people. You guys are strangers, but they kept coming out because we had connected. And I don't know if Taya and Jody did, but I did the night before and said, hey, this is what's happening. And I'm sure Taya probably did. But then when we offered Reiki to one of the cats that had been sick and hadn't eaten for like 10 days, and she was really worried about it, as soon as we walked away after our just, holding space, just sharing this beautiful meditation, the cat started to eat. And so she was really amazed by what was happening. But here's the funny thing. She never asked us back. And she really wasn't open to us, and I kind of got busy and didn't really foster that connection. But it doesn't matter sometimes if how much the animals react or what happens. You have to be confident. I was confident. Hey, I knew these animals reacted. She said herself, the cat hadn't eaten and now the cat's eating. These other cats were coming out. I know that the power of what we offer. I know the power of this. I'm very confident in it. So when people don't call me back or they don't act like, oh, this is a good thing for their animals, it's okay. It's okay. People have to get used to it. It's new. It's different. It's so passive. They don't understand it. And I have a handout for you guys that if you join SARA, you can join as a community member, anybody, any lineage. You don't have to be Let Animals Lead. You can join SARA at the community supporter level. You just go to our website, the shelteranimalreikiassociation.org. And you can join for $50 a year and you get access to all kinds of documents. But I have a document that we created that the first one's called Practitioner Guidelines, and it's just for you. And it gives you all the ins and outs on, what you can do. It's a short little document, what to say, what to do. And then there's a more important handout. It's that you give to everybody else that says what you can expect when you book an animal Reiki session. And it tells them how to prepare. And I think, let's see. This is for you to share with people. And it's what I like about letting people have these kind of handouts is that you want to make sure that people understand the Let Animals Lead or whatever kind of Reiki you're offering. And you don't have to be doing the Let Animals Lead. Like, let's say you use hands when you offer animal Reiki. You have to let people know beforehand, this is what this is going to look like. So if someone expects you, because they know Reiki, and they expect you to be using hands on their animal or directing energy to a certain area or whatever that is, if you hire me, I'm not going to be doing that. I'm just going to be sitting and meditating. So I let people know this is very passive, but it's very effective. And these are the signs to look for after I leave. And so I let them know, your cat or your dog might show signs of improving, but not the way you think. Maybe your dog won't bark at the postman anymore. Maybe your cat will start using the litter box again. There's things that are going to, what these issues are that the cat or the dog has. And so what might be subtle signs that they're accepting. I can't tell you everything. I mean, it's because it's a case by case, but just be sure to tell them, just look for signs that might be out of the ordinary, that might not be tied to if someone has you come over because their dog is aggressive and you offer animal Reiki for this dog to help support this dog. And then you leave, the dog is still aggressive, but maybe the dog is more mellow just during the day in the house. Like maybe there could be these little subtle signs, or maybe the cat that used to freak out when the heater would come on doesn't do that anymore. Now, maybe she still has her other issues, but there's certain subtle things that could be happening. And you kind of have to talk to people about this. Like when you do a follow-up call to see, if there's any improvement or if they want to rebook or whatever that is, I always like to follow up. How are things going? If they say, oh, not really noticing anything, I always say, okay, well, just tell me, what's been happening. And then have you noticed any differences? And you really have to walk people through it. And I'm going to tell you this because so Taya is, like I told you, she is a medium. And I've been at places where Taya does public medium events. So, you know, she's standing there with two other mediums, and they start getting messages, and they start asking people in the audience, does anyone have, you know, an older man in their life that wears a baseball cap, smokes cigars, cusses all the time, blah, blah, blah. And then people just sit silently. No, 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 no. And then afterwards, someone will say, oh, I think that was my dad, and da, da, da. And they go around, and she's like, well, we asked if this, you know, sounds familiar to anybody, but people don't like, it's like there's a disconnect at first. So it's the same when you're offering or you're sharing animal Reiki or animal communication. They might not notice it. So you kind of have to talk with them and allow them the space to share with you so that they can go, oh gosh, you know what? Actually, my dog used to bark every time someone knocked at the door, and he doesn't do that anymore. You know, there could be something that's not related to why you were hired, but it's also something that the animal is healing. We have to remember that, especially in the Let Animals Lead method of Animal Reiki, what we are doing for animals is we're supporting their emotional issues, right? So they might be getting food, shelter, you know, training and love and all the things, right? But their emotional issues might not be addressed. And it's very hard to address an animal's emotional issues. So when we sit there in that space and we are meditating or holding space, it allows the animal to feel supported and not judged, because we're not trying to change anything. We're not trying to force anything. We're not trying to direct anything. We're just holding space. And in that space, the animal can let go. And when they let go, they feel supported, they feel safe, and now they can start healing. And so their healing process might be a little different than what we think it should be. So we have to help guide their parents, their caregivers, on what it might look like. It might look a little bit differently than they think, because it's really up to the animal. The animal is on its own healing path. And again, like I've talked about this before, not today, but in other sessions a while ago, how, you know, Reiki for people is very effective because of the placebo effect. So if Judy is offering me Reiki and my back hurts and Judy's focusing on my back, and I trust that Judy is this amazing Reiki practitioner, my back is going to start to feel better. Now, there's also that exchange of energy. Energy feels really good. And if you're sensitive to it, you can feel it, all those really fun things. But my mind has a lot to do with how effective that session is. So if my mindset is, oh my gosh, Judy is the best, Judy's going to heal me, my back's going to feel better, guaranteed my back's going to feel a lot better, because I believe that Judy is going to be my savior. Animals don't have that. Animals either trust us and they let go and they open up, or they don't. And so there is no placebo effect. We can't say for sure, oh yes, I'm going to sit and offer Reiki and this is going to happen. You cannot guarantee anything. You can't guarantee it if you're going to sit and offer an animal communication session. You can't say, oh yes, I'm going to be able to let you know all of these things. You don't know what the animal is going to share with you. They have free agency. We can't force anything out of them. And we also don't want to be trying to manipulate anything, right? So we want to give them that freedom. We want them to be able to trust us. So those are kind of my main points. I want to turn it over because I'm sure we're going to have some questions. But just really quickly, don't forget to talk about your policies. Get payment ahead of time if you can, if you're going to be doing. It makes you look professional. If you have policies like, you know, with the with us, with the Shelter Animal Reiki Association, or if you have studied with any of the Let Animals Lead teachers, including Kathleen, you know, Kathleen created a code of ethics. It's a beautiful code of ethics. It's a great thing to give to people. This is the code of ethics that I follow. And it shows people right away, you are a professional. We have lots of these materials in the Shelter Animal Reiki Association. And even at the community supporter level, you get access to many of these. So you can show right away that you are a professional when you're presenting yourself to other people. So make sure you're talking about your policies, make sure that you get payment up front, and then just make sure, again, that you know ahead of time for yourself, for you. How much are you going to dedicate? How much are you willing to give? And respect your own boundaries. Because if you move your boundary line, believe me, other people are not going to respect your boundaries at all. And you'll see it. You'll see it immediately. You'll start attracting people who are saying, why are you charging? You shouldn't charge for this. This is like a gift, like you just do this. Why are you charging? Or, well, I can't really afford it. My dog is really sick. And so going back to Colette really quickly, this is a great example of that. You go and this used to happen to me at the shelter, right? An animal gets adopted and you offer these Reiki sessions and they're seeing a huge difference and they want you to continue. And now you're in this really weird trap of, I was doing it for free. Now I'm not. Again, this is where we have to be really secure with ourselves. And Colette, like, I don't know if you were on, we were talking about mindset, really clear on your mindset. Do I feel it's safe for me to accept money? Do I feel comfortable accepting money? Where are my money blocks? Why am I pushing money away? I should be paid for this. I pay for my training. I pay to drive. I pay to do all these things, right? So there needs to be a flow. And when you're only giving and you're not accepting, you are messing up the energetic flow of money coming and going, abundance always being there. There is so much money in this world, you guys, that there is plenty of money out there. And if your people want to pay you, then take the money, say, and have a price list. This is what I charge. This is a half an hour session. This is an hour session. And be comfortable with it, but you can't be comfortable with it with them until you're comfortable with it with yourself. And you might have to say to yourself, I charge $35 for a half an hour. Oh my God. And see how it feels in your body. You might go, no, your body's like, oh, no, that's horrible. Why are you charging? You're a mean, horrible person. You should be doing this for free. No, you shouldn't be doing it for free. If someone's willing to pay for you and they're willing to say to you, I value your services, then you have to be able to say, thank you. Thank you so much for valuing my services. If you want, you can say, hey, I mean, like when I go and teach, right? So here was my money mindset boundary. I loved working for SARA because the money that I take, I always donate back a percentage. So you can say, thank you so much for paying me. And I donate, 15, 25, 10, whatever it is, percentage back to a shelter or to a foster or whatever that is for you. And then that way you can feel good about taking the money, but you're also actually helping others with that payment. So you're kind of like really helping in a really big way. They're helping you, you're helping. It's a beautiful exchange of money and energy. But we've got to be okay with taking that initial payment. And so Colette, for you, so she says, after they see the difference in the animals, they call me back and want to pay me. It creates a big guilt loop between them and myself. I usually say, just refer me clients. Since my initial offering was voluntary, I would do this just to help the dog find a better home. So here's the things that we can do too to make ourselves feel better. So you can say, hey, I offer whatever that is, 1 session in person and 3 distant sessions. I never mind offering distant sessions because that's easy for me, right? And you can always send the people to the Animal Reiki Source Facebook, where there's thousands of Reiki practitioners and Animal Reiki practitioners, and they're all offering Reiki at any given time to different animals. So you can send them there. If they're not on Facebook, you can always offer to put their dog's picture or their cat's picture or horse or whatever on there and just ask for Reiki to be sent. What you can say is, I offer the first 2 or whatever that is for free. And then after that, my fee, if you find that this is working, my fee is 35, 45, 55, 65, 125, whatever that is, for it to continue and be okay. And I'm telling you right now, the first time you do this, it is going to just at your throat and you're not going to be, and you're going to feel really icky and it's going to feel gross and you're going to get in your car and go, oh my God, I can't believe it said this, but it's okay. It's okay. Remind yourself, it's safe for me to receive. It's safe for me to receive. We have to remind ourselves. Remember when I talked about the manifestation at the beginning and the regurgitation of our old story. Our old story is, I can't charge. It's not safe for me to charge. It feels icky when I charge. I don't like to charge, all of these things. But guess what? That's just a story. When you change the story that, oh, people are happy to pay me, people appreciate my services, I'm happy to accept the money because it helps me to go out and help more animals, right? Because it costs you gas when you go to the shelter. It costs you gas when you go to the foster homes. And things are probably going to get more expensive, not least expensive. So we really need to be able to accept and be okay with that and know that the acceptance is helping us to elevate everyone to accept. You accepting doesn't take away from anybody else. You accepting actually helps to build other women, other people up, to have it safe for them. Because once you start accepting, you're going to get other people saying to you, it's really hard for me to charge. And you can say to them, it was really hard for me to charge too, but now I'm not. And I'm so excited that Taya's coming because she was the one that really opened me up to boundaries and charging and making it safe to receive money. So Mel said, laugh out loud. I so know about that, especially when they are friends of friends, right? Try to be nice and say, okay, sorry, I have to really go now. So she's talking about when they keep talking and talking, you're at somebody's house, you have to go. And Mel's a talker like me. So it's very hard to stop yourself too. And that's why it's so important before you even go, you have to know in your mind, what is your boundary? What are your limitations? And respect them. Brene Brown always says, to be clear is to be kind. To be unclear is to be unkind. And that is such a great statement because it is so true. When you're not clear with your boundaries, people don't respect your boundaries and they don't really trust you because you don't have a clear line in the sand. I won't do this. I'm not going to go further than this. I know if I get a reading by Taya, she's cutting that off at the hour point. I know she's not going to go over because we're talking about something that's really important to me, or she's getting a lot of messages. I know her. She'll go, really sorry, we've got to stop now. And we can continue. So you can book another appointment. And Taya's a good friend, and I respect that. It's like, absolutely. And I never want to take advantage of that. So she's very clear. I respect that. You need to be very clear and people will respect it. You don't have to be afraid of that. And then Mel was saying for the distant introduction, when you introduce yourself the night before or, just a few hours before, whatever that is, and just say, this is what's going to happen. So Karen says, for clarity, should it always be volunteer free if it's for the shelter? Yeah, for the shelter, we always volunteer for free. We never charge the shelter. And I say that, but you could always talk to your shelter and say, see if they have grants for something like that. You never know. But definitely charge for when it's private clients. And don't forget, you're charging private clients. It's helping you to be able to feel free to go to the shelter as much as you want because you don't feel like, oh gosh, I'm always giving. I'm depleting myself. I'm not receiving, right? So when you're getting paid for private clients, then it helps you with the shelter. Now, you can receive money for shelter work. If you feel you want to charge, there's nothing wrong with that. I don't want to say that, oh gosh, you always have to be giving. If your shelter can afford it, and there are some shelters that have a lot of money, and like I said, they might have a grant program where it's like, oh, hey, yeah, we can pay for our dogs to get, or our cats, or everybody to get Reiki. So I know that like the OHSU, I just haven't had the time to get there, but the Oregon Humane Society, not OHSU, the Oregon Humane Society, OHS, they have like a brand new facility and it's all about holistic healing. They might have a program that can actually pay for Reiki practitioners to come there. So you don't know, you could ask. There's nothing wrong with asking. You can't receive if you don't ask. And if you feel good about it, go ahead. Also, if an animal, like let's say you offer free sessions to people who adopt an animal, you can have your policies that maybe you offer the first session for free, but then you charge whatever that is that you're going to be charging. And I can't tell you how much to charge because we're all in different areas. So in Oregon, people don't have as much money. I mean, that's not to say that everybody doesn't have a lot of money, but I would probably price my in-person sessions around $100. But that's also because I have a lot of experience. If I was less experienced, I might charge a little less. Now, don't forget, if you want to charge let's say $25 for an in-person session because you don't feel confident about your experience level, there is nothing wrong with that, but make sure you tell people that immediately. Hey, I'm only charging this because my experience level is low and I'm really trying to build my client list. You want to make sure you tell people this, because when you don't, then people are like, oh, this person only charges $25. They may not ever even have had a session with this person, but they're like, they only charge $25. And when people say things like that to me and said, yeah, that's fine for them, but here's my experience level. This is why I charge what I charge. And I have a really high success rate. So, and you've seen my testimonials. So it's really up to you. And I encourage people, if you can't afford $100, that's totally fine. I have, there's other people out there that do this. You don't have to be of service to every single person. In fact, you shouldn't be. You have your own clientele that you're trying to attract. You want to attract people who are going to appreciate you. It's just like any business. All business leaders, all entrepreneurs who are successful will tell you, you are not there to appeal to every single person out there. You can't. You cannot appeal to everybody. You are there to appeal to your people that you want to attract. So maybe you want to attract people who love animals, who have the money to support them with Animal Reiki, and that's your avatar, right? That's who you want to attract. And once you put that in your mind, that's your mindset. Yes, those are the people I want to attract. Those are the people you're going to attract. And Anne said, and I like this, shelters can also give referrals. And that's so true. If you're at the shelter and they're seeing reactions from their animals and they're willing to tell people about it, great, you can. Don't count on that though. If your shelter is really, really busy and they aren't really actively seeing the turnaround that happens after your sessions, don't really expect them to give you referrals. So it's like, yes, some shelters can, because they might have the manpower, they might be able, they might really be supportive of it. I know Kelly is in Vermont, and at her shelters or smaller shelters, they see the difference. They're more than happy to recommend Kelly. So just know your shelter. But yeah, they can be a source of referrals for you. So I said I was going to turn over, and again, hello, here I am talking. So I'm going to turn it to gallery view so I can see all of you a little bit better. And if you want to ask a question, or you have something that you want to comment on, or you just have something you want to share, just either, if you're off camera, you can unmute yourself, or you can put your question in the chat. But I would really like to hear from some of you. And for those of you who joined late and I wasn't able to say hello, thank you so much for coming. I noticed that we have some new faces, Gina and Deneen, and Gil is here from the UK, yay, and Carolyn, yay. So Charisse, all of you, thank you so much for coming. So who would like to speak? Who wants to unmute? And again, just don't be shy. It's fine. If two people unmute at once. Okay, Claudia, yes, please.
Okay, so what I once did with human Reiki was, so there was this lady and she was living out of a car. In the first session, she paid $50 for a half an hour session, but she really wanted a second session, but she is also a medium and a tarot. She did tarot, right? So she offered me a consult with tarot. She did the cards for me, and I think that was a good exchange as well, right? So it wasn't totally for free, but I got something in return for what I offered. I think
and I'm so glad you brought that up, because you can do exchanges, but like with you, Claudia, it was probably really clear. I mean, can you talk a little bit about that? Was it very clear, like, I'm going to offer you this and you're going to offer me this and we're going to do it at a certain time?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So she was just very happy with the first session, and she wanted a second session, but she also knew that I was charging $50, and she was like, yeah, I don't have that right now, but do you mind an exchange? So in return for that, we do an hour of tarot reading medium. I was like, sure, why not? I mean, she would charge the same, right? So it would be a fair exchange, I think, because she
Absolutely.
put time and effort in it as well.
And that's what you have to be careful of, because I've done exchanges before,
Mhm.
and Denise Duffield Thomas talks about this too. You have to be really careful, because that was a really good example of an exchange. And Anne says that she loves doing exchange, but you have to be really careful. You have to make sure that the exchange is fair and that the person is going to follow up, because a couple times when I did exchanges, the person never really followed up and it just became really icky. And then it makes you feel icky
Yeah.
because you've offered something, but that sounds like a really great example of it. So,
Yeah. So yeah, sorry. In my case, we did the Reiki session first and the tarot session right after, right? So yeah, we
yes.
that
Yeah. Okay. There. Yeah. So that is a really good way to do it too. It's like if you're going to do an exchange, maybe it's like right at the same time. Thank you, Claudia, for clarifying that, because that's really important that you have it down. I'm going to give you this, you're going to give this, and we're going to do this, right? Colette says, I do not do exchanges at all. And that is a boundary I hold firmly to. Same, Colette. And I think that's very healthy. And there's nothing wrong with that. And remember, there are places that you can send people for free services. There are that Kathleen's Animal Reiki support group on Facebook. I know that there's other healing groups out there on Facebook. You can do some research and figure out some free resources. Or, and Taya will talk about this too, you can tell yourself, okay, I will give one free session a month, or whatever that is for you. Just make sure you're not overgiving. So I know that there were other people that wanted to speak. And so I wanted to let you all, I put it on gallery so you can just unmute and I can usually see, or if you're on camera, you can just wave like Claudia did. But don't be shy. This is how we get all this great information out, is when we share. So anybody, I'm sure you guys have questions. Oh, wait, you know what? Karen had a question. How much difference in price do you charge for in-person versus distant? That's really great. So that is a really good question, because when you're doing in-person, you're traveling, you're there in person, it's a lot more energies being exchanged, right? When you're doing distant, you are exchanging more energy because you have to email, right? So there is some effort there too, but it's less effort. So you really just have to, in your mind, like let's say you charge 35 or 50 for, we'll say 50 for a round number, 50 for a half an hour distance session. And you can say, well, I charge $100, then I double that. Or, if you don't feel comfortable, whatever you feel comfortable, because again, I can't tell you what to charge, but make sure that your in-person is a little bit more, because if you like doing in person, you might want to price it fairly, but it just really depends. And then also have that policy. How far are you willing to travel? Are you going to charge travel time, right? So like, let's say you charge $100 for an hour session and you're willing to travel within 15 miles of where you live, right? That seems fair. But if it's further than that, you can say, well, I add another $50, whatever that is, for additional travel time. That covers my gas and my time, whatever that is for you. So make sure that you have some policies in your head about what to charge. And so those of you who know me know that I love AI. I absolutely love AI. There's nothing wrong with AI for things like this. You can ask AI, you can go on free Chat GPT and say, hey, chat, this is what I do. I do Animal Reiki, and this is what it looks like. And this is where I live. And I want to charge this much. Or what do you think is reasonable to charge? And chat will give you such a great explanation about this. In fact, next week we're going to talk about getting scammed, but I'll run this through chat and I'll see what kind of different answers I get. I'll do it in Claude and DeepSeek and ChatGPT, and I'll ask them, and I'll do different levels. Like I'm a newbie, I'm mid, or I'm very experienced. And let's see what chat says. And I'll ask chat, does it matter where I live, and blah, blah, blah. But I mean, AI is the best for finding out what should I charge? This is where I live, because AI has its claws into everything. So don't be afraid to use it to say, okay, I just kind of need a little bit of guidance. And of course, don't forget, you guys, you can always reach out to me. You can always reach out to Leah at shelteranimalreikiassociation.org and ask, hey, this is the problem that I'm having. Like, what would you suggest? You know, I like the woman who had that session for 3 hours with her cat. She just reached out and said, oh my gosh, this is what happened. What do you think? And I said, well, we'll talk about this tomorrow. She couldn't be here on the call, but I did cover that. So let me see here. Okay. And then Karen said, and then what is your difference between half hour versus full hour? Well, what do you mean exactly by that, Karen? Like, what exactly do you mean before? Like a full hour of meditation versus a half an hour of meditation? Oh, price. Well, that's really up to you. You could do a half an hour for 50 and an hour for 100, or you could do a half an hour for 50, an hour for 85. You know, you can make it whatever you want. If you want people to book an hour, you might want to make it like a little bit cheaper. Or if you don't really care, I would just do 50 and 100. I'm just using round numbers. I'm not saying that's what you have to charge. Just look in your area too. See what people are charging for human Reiki. See what people are charging for animal massage. See what people are charging for animal communication. And then you can price accordingly, because you don't want to underprice yourself and you don't want to overprice yourself either. You have to be really comfortable. And I'm just really quickly, I'll share, when I started my cannabis businesses, I was working part-time for this really amazing business coach. But one of the things that she was doing an 8-week course, and she was charging, you know, quite a bit of money. And she was telling people at the end of the 8 weeks, they were charging for life coaches. And she was telling them at the end of the 8 weeks, they should go out and charge $5,000 for their program. And I was thinking, what? Like, if you're brand new, charging $5,000 for a program that you just finished, that's not okay. And a lot of people that took the program, because I was the executive assistant, they would reach out to me after because they knew me and say, I feel really bad. What if I don't charge this? And it's like, it's totally fine not to charge it. Charge what you feel comfortable with, and build your confidence and build your clientele up. And then as new people come on, you can start charging more. Right? You don't have to stay at a low level. You start building up, and we can talk about that. So Trina says, what about a consultation for first timers? Charge a small about, no, for consultation, you could charge for, here's the thing I think about consultations. It's like attorneys. When an attorney gives you a consultation for free, I'm always like, yeah, I trust this person because they're not trying to gouge me right away, right? If they are charging me for a consultation, I think, oh, they're just going to charge. So, but again, here's where the boundary is. You can say, I offer a 15-minute consultation for free, right? This is how you get around charging versus not charging. And it comes down to you and your boundaries. So saying, hey, I'll give you a 15-minute consultation for free is completely fine. In fact, I encourage you to do that because you want them to know you. You want to know them, right? You want to see if this is even going to be a good fit for you. Don't be afraid to say no, because don't forget, this is your time. And if you're going into someone's home, you have to feel comfortable with the person. And it's okay for you to say, you know what? I don't think this is going to work out. I always have somebody to refer to. I can, you can say, hey, I really can't come out in person, but I'm happy to do distant. I always encourage people to do 4 sessions in a row, because really 4 sessions in a row, you're going to see something at the end, because the animal doesn't know you. If you're coming in as a stranger for that first session, the second session, they go, okay, I know kind of what to expect. Third session, they know exactly what to expect. Fourth session, they are, boom, I trust you. I like you, boom, they are going to release and let go. So I always do 4, and how you charge is how you charge. Like if you charge $50 for each session, you might want to charge, $150 for 4, give them a discount for the 4th. But so what about a consultation for first time? Yeah, charge a small amount. No. What about for free? And I think people who have no idea what Animal Reiki is, yes. And again, that goes back to what I was saying at the beginning. You've got to make sure they know what you're going to be doing, because if you get there and you're just sitting there meditating and they're like, what? Wait, what? This isn't going to help my animal. You're supposed to be using your hands. You're supposed to be directing. You're supposed to be doing something. They're going to be really disappointed. So we always want to make sure that we're letting people know ahead of time, hey, this is what I do. This is what it looks like. And I'm not here to heal your animal. I can't heal your animal. I mean, if COVID taught us anything, people, it taught us that we have so many Reiki healers in this world, and yet they weren't healing people, right? So it's because everyone is on their, every being is on their own healing path. Yes, Reiki is amazing and wonderful and it's supportive, but you're supporting that person on their own healing path. And it's the same with the animals. So we don't want to overpromise. And then Colette said, I just had a client inform me that the dog trainer charged double and was there for less time. Then she reminded me she's seen better results with my session. And as I was walked out the door, she said, up your prices. Thank you for this offering this opportunity to discuss this, because I don't wish to be sitting idle since I started doing this to help animals. Exactly, Colette. You know, and you've got, in order to get comfortable with all of this, you got to get yourself out there. And it's so hard if you're an introvert. And even though I seem like I am such an extrovert, I am a total introvert in many, many ways. And I don't like to get myself out there. So, I mean, it took me forever to do this free session. I've been wanting to do this for years. And finally, I just made myself, because I was in this entrepreneur group and they were like, Leah, just do it. Who cares if you only have 2 people? Just do it. So you just have to do it. And once you do it, you'll start doing it more and more and more and more and more and more. And then pretty soon you're like, yeah, I feel really comfortable with this. But it's going to be really icky and awful at first if you don't feel comfortable taking money. And just remind yourself, it's okay. It's okay if this is hard. I can do this, because it's only hard, really gross hard the first time. Then it gets a little easier. Then it gets easier. And then you're like comfortable. You're like, yes, this works for me. This exchange totally, completely works for me. So sliding scale, totally fine. If you want to do a sliding scale, just know the people. You can say, I wouldn't advertise sliding scale, because you would be so amazed at the people who have money who want a sliding scale and who want to try and claim that they're so poor. It's really what people, remember, people will spend a lot of money on something and then not a lot on something else. That's why the pet industry is so booming, because people like to put money into their animals. They love to support their animals, and just remember that. And then Deneen said, what if you schedule a 1-hour session and the animal decides that you're done in 40 minutes? So Deneen, that's where we have to be really clear about what a 1-hour session means. So a 1-hour session, if you're talking about 1 hour of animal Reiki, that's a really long time. And you can let the person know, I charge this for the hour, but there is a chance the animal will end early. It's just, I mean, it's your time, it's your effort. That's what to expect. 30 minutes, or if you do a 45-minute session, whatever that is, and they want to end early, you're going to have to decide with yourself, what is my policy going to be? Am I going to give them half off? Am I going to comp it? Or am I going to charge them the full price for it? Because the animal has agency. So you kind of have to be really clear in your policy. And you know what? I'm going to ask AI about that too, and we'll ask Taya too. I don't do this enough to be like, say, hey, do this every time. And also, we're all individuals. So there's going to be different sessions. But again, your policies, it's really important to have that up front. So for you, Deneen, if you're scheduling an hour and it's a full hour of a session and not half an hour and then 15-minute buffer on each side to talk, then I would just let them know ahead of time. Your animal might be done before the session's over. But also, we want to make sure that the animal is done. Now, I know there are some animals, I've been in sessions before, and the animal is clearly, okay, we are done. This is over. They're like jumping around. They're like, but nope, it's not going to happen anymore. But they're usually good for a good half an hour. An hour might be a little bit long. For distance, no. But for in person, it might be. So you really are going to have to do some trial and error with that for yourself. Because if you, I mean, this is a really hard one. I've never done an hour in person. I've done an hour distant, never had a problem, but I've never done an hour in person. And so that's one where it's really going to have to be like, maybe the way you price it is you price it where if they like, let's say you price it for 45 minutes for yourself, you don't necessarily tell them that. And you can say, well, this is my price for a half an hour. This is my price for an hour. If it's within that hour, like if 45 minutes they stop, my price is still the same. And then it's really up to them. But again, it comes down to boundaries. Or you can say, if it goes a little over, that's totally fine. I give a 10-minute buffer. So maybe your 30-minute session is really a 40-minute session. But again, it really comes back to boundaries and your own preference. Because for me, I don't, but then I've done this a long time. And I'm trying to think back, if I were doing this when I first started, I might do a 45-minute session because I need to get myself settled. And so I might say, hey, this is what I charge for a 45-minute session. And usually the animal too is going to be going in there. But again, you want to be able to say, hey, the animal might be done before that. But also you have to have a lot of practice because you don't want to stop the session just because the animal is getting up to go pee, getting up to go eat, wants to go outside, maybe wants to go lay outside, maybe wants to go in the other room to accept this. So here's where it gets a little bit difficult because you don't want to give up too soon either. But I know, Deneen, if it's 40 minutes and the animal says they're done, because usually for me, it's like around 30, 40 minutes, animals are like, okay, I'm done with this when it's in person. But again, when I've done 40-minute ones, it's usually for friends and it's never like me going to someone's house. It's always 30 minutes when me going to someone's house, but I never started going to people's houses until I had a lot of experience. So it's like, I'm giving you my opinion, but this is very biased because I didn't go to people's homes until I had a lot of experience. So you really have to like ask yourself, how long does it take me to settle down? If I go to someone's house and I'm feeling a little nervous, I really kind of got to give myself that buffer of 10 minutes to settle myself down. And so you might want to be doing a 40-minute session. And you can always cut down your talk to 10 minutes before and after and tell them, you're happy to do a follow-up consult once it's all over. So, and then how long would you offer free sessions starting out? Caprice, you know what? That's really up to you. You're going to know, oh yeah. Oh God, Judy, thank you so much. So for those of you who know how to do a chair treatment, one of the things you can do to settle yourself down right away and settle the animal down right away is to offer to do a chair treatment for the person. Because most of the time when an animal is acting up, it's the person anyway. So if you do a chair treatment, a human session in a chair on the person, if they're open to it, then you can, the energy is going out, the animal will relax. I remember a woman wanted to put her boxer down and the boxer wasn't the problem. It was the woman. So we did a chair session and the boxer, who wasn't settling down when I got there, as soon as I started the session, just completely crashed out. So that's something that you might want to try, is offering the person or walking them through some breathing techniques so that they calm down, because that is a really important thing that, and I think this is in our handout, you don't want the person to be distracted. You don't want the person in there doing dishes while you're trying to meditate with the animal, because the animal's not going to settle down. You don't want the person moving around in the other rooms if they put you in a room, because the animal won't settle down. So it is a really good idea to offer the person either some breathing techniques or a Reiki session. So Letty, I know that you had your microphone off. Do you want to say something or ask a question?
A question. So I just only took your class in November, October, November, and I don't feel confident, but I do want to get out there and, start practicing. But I was thinking about just doing long distance.
Yeah, yeah.
And so how would you, could I start with 30 minutes, 45 minutes?
Yeah, again, Letty, it goes back to you and being aware of how long it takes you to get into a meditative state, right?
Wow.
So like yeah, but what really helps me is I listen to music. So I think, for those of you who have taken my classes or know me, it's like Pavlov's response. So I play the same meditation music all the time. So once I put my headphones in, that meditation, boom, my body goes boom. So it's like I use different music now, but when I was starting out, that's what I did. And that actually helped me to like, okay, boom, I'm in the space. Now I can get into it. So you have to really ask yourself, Letty, does it take me like 10 minutes to settle down? Then it's like 30 minutes of nice meditation. Then you would want to do no less than 40 minutes, because you really want to be able to give a nice 30 minutes of a session. But that's not to say that 20 minutes of a deep meditative state isn't going to help the animal. It will. But yeah, just really kind of check in with yourself. And yeah, offering for free when you're starting up is absolutely wonderful, but don't get stuck in that, and reach out. And we can talk about confidence and we can talk about this, because remember, people, I have been where you are. I've been insecure. I've been, self-conscious about things. I still am. Kathleen still is. Hello, Kathleen, leader of all this. She still gets, we all do, because we're human. We're human. But Kathleen, all of us, Kelly, Judy, we have these techniques. And I'm so grateful to Judy for mentioning the chair treatment, because that's a technique. I'm listening to music that's the same music, the same meditative music every single time. Pavlov's response, your body, I'm telling you, will go boom immediately as soon as you hear that music. So we have a couple more questions. I know we're going over time, so thank you all for staying. And then Karen says, do you allow unlimited emails in between? Yeah, no. My limited experience in private sessions is that the person wants to email before and after multiple times. Yes, that is so true. And you can say, hey, so I do have a 1 or 2, email limit. That's why I don't really like email. I like calls better, because then it's 15 minutes. I can say, hey, yeah. And it's like, okay, just remember you have 15 minutes. And Denise Duffield-Thomas has a really great podcast about this. You can find it. And she has so many great resources, you guys. She is one of my favorite entrepreneurs because she's real. I've seen her go from nothing to multimillionaire. She's very real about how she did it. She's very real about her mindset. But she talks about how if she's doing 15 minutes or an hour, whatever that is for consults, she'll say, okay, we've only got 5 minutes left. Are you sure you've touched on your most important issues, right? So you can really start directing that short amount of time. Whereas with email, it becomes a little grayer, but you can say, hey, thank you so much for your email. Here's my response. I won't be able to respond anymore after this. Or if you want to give 2, you can say, hey, I can respond to this, but if you want, you can book a session, a follow-up session, and you can price it low. It doesn't have to be exorbitant, but you do want to be getting paid, and you want to let them know, hey, and that's why your policies ahead of time are always really important, because they know, if I know somebody's policy is I only have 1 email available with them or 2 emails or whatever that is, then I'm going to make use of that time. And you can encourage people. There's nothing wrong with that. I did this one training. It was like for Zoom to manage Zoom calls. And the guy, before the training session, he said, do not come to this training session unless you're going to be on camera. Do not come to this training session if you're going to be distracted. Do not come to the training session if you're going to be getting up with your camera on. If you have to get up, please turn your camera off. He was very clear. Do not come to this training unless you are 100% prepared. And so that's kind of how I try to direct some of my classes, the online classes, or any other meetings I'm holding on Zoom, like not here because this is more casual, but it's definitely something that you're going to want to make sure you tell people, I'm coming, or this is happening. So you need to make sure that if we do a distance session, that session is booked at a time when your animal is relaxed. I don't want to be booking that session at a time when your animal is getting fed or out doing his walk or whatever that is. And I see Cindy nodding because Cindy does this and she knows. You want them to be prepared for this session. Otherwise, they're kind of setting you up for failure. And then Denise Duffield Thomas is her, and just, I think it's, what is her website? If you just Google Denise Duffield Thomas, you'll find it. But she's amazing. And she has so many free mindset offerings. In fact, she just came out with a new one. I just found it. I'll put it in the recap email for you. And let's see, there was one more, Cindy Barlow. So if you're doing a 4-session in person, how much time do you recommend in between sessions? And do you ever offer one in person and then follow up distance? Yeah. So I always like 4 in a row. I know there's other people like Kelly and other people will do like 1 a week. You can do that. It's totally fine. The results don't happen as quickly in my experience when you do it like that. It takes a little bit longer, but you do kind of get the same exact reaction after the 4 weeks or the 4 weeks. You can do that. I always like them to be grouped together because the person and the animal can experience it together. So, but if you're doing it in person, you might have to break it out into once a week. And I know like for me at the shelter, it was once a week that I would do it with this one dog. I remember clearly she was having such horrible issues. And I did it once a week for a month. And by the end of the month, she was amazing, but it took her a lot longer than the ones that I've done, at the shelter where it's once in person and then 3 distance. That one was when I was very first starting off. So I didn't really feel comfortable with the distance. So I did hers like that. But yeah, you can do that. And then I prefer like 1 session in person and then the follow-ups via distant because it can be all at once and the person knows you, the animal knows you, and it's pretty effective. But I know that there's other people, again, this is all a personal experience. Like Kelly might say, hey, I don't do that. What I do is I'll do a distance for 3 sessions in a row once a week. Or I remember like Jamie, my old partner, she did Zoom sessions for her distance. I wouldn't do Zoom sessions, that isn't my thing, but she would do it and she would lead the person through a meditation and that worked for her. So you really kind of have to try it out and see if this works or not. And I'm always here if you have questions. And then for distance sessions, do you have the person on the phone? No, that's so funny. I didn't see your question, Karen. No, I don't. I don't necessarily need the person to meditate with me when I'm doing a distant one. I just need them to make sure that animal is calm and relaxed, that they're able to move freely, that they're calm, that they're relaxed. It's at a time, which is why I usually like to do either early morning when they're still either sleeping or after they've had breakfast, or at nighttime after they've had dinner, they're relaxed, they're laying around. That's when I like to do my sessions. But you can do it at any time. It's just, no, I never have the person on phone. I've done it once on Zoom. It was really uncomfortable. I didn't like it. I don't want to do that. What you can do though, if it's like a purely distant client, what you can do is say, hey, for this first session, I'd like to jump on Zoom, kind of walk you through some breathing. And then if you want to join with the dog, great. I mean, this is only if they're open to it, right? I would only do Zoom if you're saying to them, hey, look, if you want to join in, it's great for your dog, great for your cat, whatever that is, for you to also be there. Just quietly meditating or just breathing or doing something relaxing for yourself so that they don't feel that tension. And you can always say, hey, let's jump on a Zoom and we'll start it and I'll do some breathing with you and then jump off. Because for me, the Zoom is a distraction for me, which is the benefit of distance, because you have that ability to just check out and go inward, right? It's really freeing when you're doing a distant session as opposed to, hey, we're going to get on Zoom. Okay, now I got to worry about you being on Zoom. And then if the person starts moving around, which, because I was doing this for a few times, the person moves around and I'm like, oh my God, then I get distracted, right? So then it's really not a great distant session, and it kind of defeats the whole purpose of a distant session for me. But again, like, it didn't bother Jamie. Jamie was in her own world and she loved it and she did it that way and she felt it was really effective. So it's something that you're going to have to try out. I tried it out, didn't like it. But that's why we have to have these conversations, because it's not one size fits all. I can't tell you, hey, look, this is what you charge. This is what you do. Boom. That's how you go out and be successful. It's going to be different. We're dealing with animals, right? It's not like we're manicurists and we're doing nails and we can do things a certain way. We have certain protocols, right? Of course, we have protocols. We have our code of ethics. But animals are animals and they're going to do what they want to do. And so we've just got to set them up for success by making sure that the person isn't disrupting them, and that whatever time, whether it's in person or distant, that they're able to be in a place where they can relax. So I know we've gone way over. Thank you guys so much. And I don't know if anyone has a last minute question before we jump off. We're already 20 minutes into it. So you know what we should do, you guys? We really need to do this. We need to stop for a minute and just go inward. So let's just take a moment, and this will be a really quick meditation, I promise. But let's just bring our hands into Gasho and close our eyes so we're closing out all outside distractions. And let us focus on our breath, breathing in deeply through our nose into our belly. Expand your belly and then slowly release your breath out your mouth. And just do that 2 more times and feel your body start to relax. Feel the tension start to leave. And now just bring your breath back to a nice, soft, normal breath. That's my dog Shrek. And just breathe in and out slowly. I'd like you to imagine your breath is light and you're breathing that light deep into your belly. And when your breath hits your belly, it ignites your beautiful inner light. And as you breathe out, the light expands in your body. Just visualize your breath as light, and the light within you, your beautiful inner light that is your true essence, your true self, expands. It fills every pore of your being, every cell of your being. And it expands and it reaches out and fills the space around you so that you are engulfed in a beautiful bubble of light. And I just want you to focus on the strengthening of this light. Your breath is light. Your breath connects to the light within you. And on the out breath, that light expands. And this is the light of love. This is the light of joy, of peace. It is the light of compassion, and it is who you are at your core. You are this light. Your beautiful essence is light, is love. And this is what the animals connect to. This is what the animals accept, is your beautiful light of love. And so just sit for a moment and allow yourself to feel the comfort and support of your own inner light, knowing that you are peace, you are joy, you are compassion, you are happiness, and you are love. And when we focus on this beautiful inner light, it expands. And just know that your light has the power to create change, has the power to bring love and support to others, has the power to help support any healing. So as we close today, I just want you to remember that you are a beautiful, loving light, and this world needs your light. So bring yourself back, but stay connected to that light. Open your eyes, and thank you all so much for being here, so much for sharing your energy and your love and light with me. And I will see you next week, and we're going to talk about getting scammed, because one of our SARA members recently had an Animal Reiki session request, and it was a total scam, but it didn't look like a scam on the surface. So I want to talk to you guys about that, because there's a lot of scams out there, and they're getting really tricky because of AI. Because before you could kind of spot them because they were like emails that would come in were misspelled, but not anymore, because AI can take what their intent is and make that email sound really good. So we're going to talk about this and about how to keep yourself safe. And in fact, I almost fell for one, and it was really scary, but I'm going to give you a lot of different resources to help you with that. And then on the 12th, we'll have Taya coming to talk about boundaries. And I really hope all of you can make it, because she is so, so incredibly amazing and so giving and loving. And she's got such great advice. So thank you all so much. I will see you next week when we talk about that. And thank you, Judy. So great to see you. Bye, everyone. Have a wonderful day. Bye.